Boker Tov and Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to see everybody again. And I'd like to talk about this coming Shabbat. It's a special Shabbat. Well, of course, every Shabbat is special, but this one has its own special qualities. This Shabbat, we are going to be starting the book of Vayikra, the third book of the Torah. And in English, this third book, again, Vayikra in Hebrew, Leviticus in English, is also known as Torah Kohanim, the laws of the priest. And why is it also given that name by our tradition? Well, if you look at the text and the contents of the book, it is concerned mostly with the sacrifices, with the korbanot that were given in ancient times, whether it was in the Mishkan and the portable tabernacle, or later in the temple in Jerusalem. And this was, in a sense, the manual for the priests. The priests were the ones, the Kohanim, were the ones who were responsible for offering the sacrifices to God. And so it made sense that they called this book, in addition to Vayikra, Torah Kohanim, the laws of the priests. Because again, this was their manual, their guide on the various sacrifices that were going to be offered by the people to God. And this first Torah portion, also called Vayikra, in the book of Leviticus, talks about many of the different types of sacrifices that were given for a variety of circumstances, whether it was for well-being, guilt offerings, sin offerings, whole variety. But, as you know, in our day, we no longer offer the sacrifices as did our ancestors. In 70 CE, with the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, the offering of sacrifices ceased. Without a temple, there was no place from where to offer the sacrifices anymore. At that point, Judaism changed entirely. Without the temple, our rabbis had to find a new way to interact with God. So instead of offering sacrifices and slaughtering various animals to worship God, they came up with the idea of prayer, of tefillah, that we would respond, that we would connect to God through our words, through our deeds. So, again, this is a major transition in Judaism, one which we obviously continue today by the prayers that we offer each and every day in lieu of the sacrifices which would have been given. Now, that word for sacrifices, which is found all throughout this particular Torah portion, is korban, sacrifices, or korbanot, sacrifices in plural. But let's look for a moment at that word korban. Now again, you're familiar with it, many of you are, because it again refers to the sacrifices. That's the Hebrew word. But if we look at the word korban, korban literally refers to the Hebrew word karov, which means close. So for example, we read in the Ashrei Psalm, we say, Karov Adonai lekol korav. Karov Adonai, God is close to all who call out to God. So again, there's that word karov. Also, the word krovim, which in Hebrew means relatives, because relatives are the ones who are close to us. But what does this have to do with Korban? Well, again, in ancient times, this was our people's way of becoming close to God by offering sacrifices. And we do so in our day, however, by offering our prayers. Now, in our particular time, this challenging period of time in which we now find ourselves, it's different. We're not able to become close to one another in the same way that we've been used to be doing. Unfortunately, we can't come to the synagogue for minyan or Shabbat. We can't come close to our friends and family in the same way that we would like to, even when we're in a store or some other place, location. We have to be 6 feet apart from each other. We have to be socially distanced from one another. So how do we continue that idea of becoming close when we have to be apart and can't be with one another in the same way that we would have wanted? I want to share with you a special program that we have just begun in Adath Israel this past week, and which I hope you will hear more about. It's a program from our Adath Israel Chesed Committee called our Adath Israel Chesed Caring Community. What we are doing is that I've established a group of volunteers from the congregation who will be calling congregants and reaching out to them. Now again, we can't reach out in the same physical way, but this way with a call, we'll be able to connect with you. So I've given to our volunteers a list. Each one has about 50 names. I have 11 different people with 50 names. That means we will be able to touch base starting this week with approximately 550 family members as a chance to chat, to see how you're doing, to have that closeness, to have that bond. Yes, it's in a different way than in the past, but it will hopefully enable you to maintain that closeness, that relationship, which I know is so important to us as Jews and so important to us as a congregation. Even though we're not here close with one another physically, we can be close spiritually. And that's what our Adath Israel Caring Community is going to be doing, is going to be finding new ways to become close to you. If you would like to volunteer for the Adath Israel Caring Community and make some of these calls, please be in touch with me. My email address is rabbiseed@adathisrael.com. Again, I know that we are here in challenging times, but I hope that in spite of that, that we will continue to find new ways and good ways to continue our unique bond with one another. My best wishes, and Shabbat Shalom.